Hello everyone, it's your Peacekeeper coming at you with the next video in our How to Play series on the US Cruiser Line. This is the Tier 6 Light Cruiser Cleveland. The Cleveland class cruiser consisted of 52 planned and 27 completed light cruisers built between 1940 and 1943. The Cleveland class was a product-improved Brooklyn or St. Louis class cruiser that focused on increasing the operational range, anti-aircraft armament, torpedo protection, and other combat capabilities over the Brooklyn/St. Louis class cruisers. To do this, they had to sacrifice a gun turret and up-armor the ship, and it made for what is widely considered to be the best light cruiser ever built by the United States. The Cleveland class was also the most numerous class of light cruisers ever built by any nation in the world. Of the 52 planned ships, 9 were actually converted to Independence-class carriers during their ordering process, and 13 were actually reordered as Fargo-class cruisers, which is nothing more than a Cleveland-class cruiser with a modified superstructure that allowed for better anti-aircraft firing arcs. In terms of service history, all 27 completed Clevelands survived World War II in spite of being either heavily damaged or used heavily by the U.S. Navy. The Cleveland-class cruisers primarily operated in the Pacific with Fast Carrier Task Force, however, several did operate in the Mediterranean Sea and North Atlantic. As with most classes of ships with large numbers of ships built, picking just one of these ships is difficult. However, one that stood out to me just reading through their Wikipedia articles was the USS Columbia, which participated in the sinking of numerous Japanese destroyers and cruisers, in addition to having an impressive air kill record. Columbia also participated in the Battle of Suragawa Strait, in which the veterans of Pearl Harbor crossed the T of the Japanese fleet and proceeded to sink several Japanese ships, including the battleship Yamashiro. Columbia also survived a direct kamikaze hit to her port rear quarter, which penetrated 2 decks and then detonated. Columbia's damage control crews were able to quickly flood the magazines to prevent further explosions and seal off the damaged areas, which allowed her to remain on scene and finish her mission to bombard shore emplacements for the landings at Lingyang Gulf in 1945. In terms of her in-game gameplay, for those of you who are around during closed beta, you'll know that the Cleveland is actually a nerfed Tier 8 cruiser that was nerfed specifically to fit her into Tier 6. And the reasons for this are not immediately obvious to those who aren't familiar with Wargaming's obsession with gun caliber progression in the game. It's the same reason why Ganiza now has the 15-inch gun upgrade as opposed to the 11-inch gun she actually had. But the Cleveland, which should be a Tier 8 cruiser, was put at Tier 6 because they tried to make the progression from 6-inch guns to 8-inch guns smooth, rather than have you go from 6-inch guns down to up to 8-inch guns and back down to 6-inch guns and back up to 8-inch guns, until they decide to split the US Cruiser Line into heavy and light cruisers. And so that is the reason why Cleveland has been shoehorned into Tier 6. And of course, there's a couple of notable downsides to that. One is if you compare the 5-inch 38 cal anti-aircraft, the dual-purpose guns that also serve as their anti-aircraft suite, you'll notice that they have a lower anti-aircraft value than other 5-inch 38 cal dual-purpose mounts do. And this is because the anti-aircraft suite of Cleveland is already oppressive. This ship's AA values actually match that of New Orleans at Tier 8, which means that this ship is a menace to any aircraft carrier that the Cleveland currently sees. And on top of that, it gets defensive fire to add insult to injury. The Cleveland also has a really good rate of fire and a very high fire chance for a 6-inch gun battery, and it is best described by others as a blowtorch. In fact, for those of us who played around in closed beta and at the early days of open beta prior to the nerf to Cleveland, she was able to solo same-tier battleships without really taking any damage because she could fire from so long away and basically would be able to maneuver inside of any shells that came into her. And her maneuverability is also impressive. And so there's a lot of really good things about the Cleveland, and there's not much bad to say about her. About the only complaint that I can really find that is persistent through multiple people that I've talked to is the fact that her gun arcs are typical of U.S. ships. They are very lofty, and the reason for that is she shoots the 6-inch super heavy shell, that being the Mark 35 6-inch AP shell. And the bonus to that is that the AP shells retain good penetration value at longer ranges, and that allows this ship to actually successfully engage other cruisers and achieve citadel hits at longer ranges than other 6-inch gun cruisers could reasonably have. Now, part of the downside to being at tier 6 is she is nerfed from her realistic capabilities, meaning that her 6-inch guns actually have a slower rate of fire than they did in real life, and her turrets don't traverse nearly as fast, and we can only hope that when this ship gets put back at tier 8 in any line split, that those stats will actually come back. And I long to have the real Cleveland back, because while this ship is a fantastic ship to play, there are some other frustrating things, like I miss having the really durable citadel placement that was taken away from her. She used to have a split citadel. In fact, if we pull up the armor layout, if I can pull it up here quick enough, you can see that her citadel is actually one giant citadel space down here, and what used to happen is it was basically split in half, because the way the Clevelands were laid out, the engines rooms were far enough apart that this space in the middle basically didn't exist, and so it made her really difficult to citadel. She's still difficult to citadel, so don't get me wrong here, but I do miss having that ability. And speaking of her stats, she does have 35,200 hit points, and up to 5 inches of armor at her belt. She does have a torpedo protection damage reduction of 7%. Her main battery consists of 12 6-inch 47 caliber guns. They are 2 fore, 2 aft. The turrets are. They are triple turrets with a max firing range of 14.6 kilometers, a reload time of 8 seconds, and that 12% fire chance without demolition expert. Her secondary armament consists of 6 of the dual 5-inch 38 cal Mark 32s, and the secondaries exist, but I wouldn't really rely upon them for much of anything aside from an interesting show with a anti-aircraft spec captain. 5 kilometers is where you're at, and you can see here that is without advanced firing training, so it will come up a little bit with AFT, but really not something that I would rely upon too much. One thing that I would rely upon, though, is her anti-aircraft defense, and yes, advanced firing training would help out here too. Her AA, even without it, goes out to 6 kilometers, and that is going to include the anti-aircraft range module, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And it consists of 13 single 20mm Oerlikons, 6 dual 40mm Bofors, and of course those 6 dual 5-inch 38 cal Mark 32s. And that AA suite starts at 6 kilometers, steps down to 4.2, and then 2.4. And of course, if you throw advanced firing training on there, it gets even more ridiculous, pushing that out even further. Her maneuverability, she has a 32.5 knot top speed, a turning circle of a very, very small 660 meters, a rudder shift time of 5.8 seconds, and her concealment is pretty good for a cruiser, especially a cruiser of this size. You can see she's got quite a profile. 11.4 kilometers by sea and 7.1 by air, which means that by the time you throw on advanced firing training, you are basically shooting down aircraft before they can see you. That's an awesome feature to have. Let's talk about those modules. Main armaments mod 1. Pretty much the standard. You could make a very good case for auxiliary armaments mod 1 depending on how you spec out your captain. If you pick up preventative maintenance as your tier 1 skill, you can take auxiliary armaments mod 1 to increase the hit points of your anti-aircraft mounts. And if you're looking to take this ship and use it, like for instance in ranked or in any form of competitive play that operates at tier 6, I definitely recommend picking up the auxiliary armaments mod 1 and preventative maintenance together. If you plan on playing this just in randoms and you don't plan on playing it in any competitive play, I think main armaments mod 1 adds a little bit more to the ship in terms of her overall capabilities. It just kind of depends on how you want to play the ship. And that main armaments mod 1 is going to reduce the chance of your main battery becoming incapacitated, increase the amount of hit points it has, and decrease the time it takes to repair it. In the second slot, AA Guns Mod 2 is the one that I'm going to recommend that you take. That is going to increase the firing range of your anti-aircraft guns by 20%. And really, I've tried some of these other builds. I mean, the secondary build's a waste. Like I said, the secondaries exist, but I wouldn't rely on them for any reliable damage. Just simply because of the arcs that they have. But Aiming Systems Mod 1 might be one that you might see other people take, and quite honestly, while this does work if you're looking for a more gun-focused build, I find that the dispersion on this ship, even without this module, is still good enough to where I don't feel the need to take it. We don't have torpedo tubes to worry about, and again, secondaries we're not really all that worried about. So reducing the dispersion of the main batteries by 7% isn't really all that important. In terms of main battery mod 2, that reduction in the reload, the increase in the reload time just isn't worth it for the reduction in the 180-degree turn time of the turrets. The ship operates best kind of in the mid-range, and as a result, I don't find the turret traverse to really be lacking too much. It would be nice to have the original Cleveland's turret traverse back, as well as the rate of fire, but this ship really was quite overpowered at Tier 6 when she had her realistic turn rate and rate of fire. So, in terms of right now, really don't consider this to be a good option simply because of the reduction in your damage per set, your DPS there. So AA Guns Mod 2 is what I recommend. Aiming Systems Mod 1, there could be a good case made for it. In terms of this third slot, I've got Damage Control Systems Mod 1 here, and that's only because I haven't changed it to what I consider to be more important, which is Propulsion Systems Mod 1. Now, you don't lose your engines a whole lot on this ship if you keep the ship angled. However, I find that with cruisers, Propulsions Mod 1 seems to be a little bit better fit than Damage Control Systems Mod 1. However, really none of these are terrible options. I do find the engines do get taken out enough to justify having Propulsion Systems Mod 1, but all three of them do have their uses. In this final slot, I definitely recommend taking Steering Gears Mod 2. The only other option here that I would say is viable is Propulsions Mod 2. Steering Gears Mod 2 is going to reduce your rudder shift time by 20%. That just makes this already agile ship more agile. It gives you that 5.8 second rudder shift time, and it means that you can dodge battleship shells when you're firing at near your maximum range, and it just makes a little bit more comfortable gameplay because you can really angle your ship quite well with that in there. Propulsion Systems Mod 2, if you find yourself sitting behind islands more frequently, maybe this is the option that you take, and this is going to reduce the time it takes you to get to full power from either a stop or within the -6 knots to the 6 knot range. Outside of that, it doesn't do you any good. So really, if you're not sitting behind an island, either stationary or near stationary, you're not going to see much of a benefit from Propulsion Modification 2, which is part of the reason why I recommend Steering Gears Mod 2 instead. Let's go ahead and dive right on into this battle video. There is a carrier, and we get to see this thing melt aircraft, so let's dive into it. Alright, so as I said, that this battle does have carriers in it, and we are also going to demonstrate the high shell arcs and the advantages to having those high shell arcs. As you can see, there is an independence on each team. We got a number of different battleships. Really, this game was actually quite well balanced in terms of the ship layout. I really don't find that the ship layout was really a hindrance to this. Damage-wise, there's enough. it was a lot. I won't spoil it. You just gotta watch this. I mean, this literally is the most insane thing I've ever seen. And this poor Independence player on the other team, he really learned the hard way just how much AA and AA spec Cleveland can have. And this captain doesn't even have manual fire control for AA. I'm not even really sure that that's even a worthwhile skill to have over just having the AA range, especially since we have defensive fire and the AA is so freaking strong already. The map is Trident, and I'm going to try anyway. Normally there's a cap in the middle here, which is the B cap. There is an island there. You can see it is E6. There you can see my line there was pointed basically right at it. I'm going to try and see if I can't get myself hidden behind that island to engage anything that comes through. It's a bit of a gamble because remember, on this map, everybody either goes all the way to the left or all the way to the right or splits between the two. Very few actually try and push through the middle. And so there's really not a whole lot of time to hide behind that thing, and it's very easy for enemy ships to flank you, and then you're caught broadside. It's really not usually a very viable tactic, but at this point, my gaff meter was basically 0, and we were going to try it anyway. I had a number of frustrating games prior to this in the Pensacola, as I was trying to get the video for the Pepsi, and... well, it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and you see we're staying a little bit wide because I'm trying to see how our team is going to pan out here. But now I'm starting my turn in. And you'll see here, there's really not a whole lot within our range at the moment. And with our shell arcs, we could actually begin engaging stuff. And there is enough armor on the ship that if we were to take any incoming battleship fire, we could make some pretty decent use of our armor to help mount some of it. Firing AP at long range at this Cleveland, don't recommend it, but hey, you know, that's what was loaded and I didn't realize it until it was too late. So we are almost to this island. Also, we have this Leander here. We are almost to this island. The high shell arcs are going to give us a massive advantage here. You can see I'm wiggling back and forth to get the ship really into position here. We're detected, which is an annoyance, but nobody's really shooting at us. And, well, you know, hey, we've got some damage on the board here, so we're not going to complain too much about this. We are going to find ourselves ducking behind this island. Maybe we can help our T-22 get rid of this Budioni. Okay, so we've got aircraft coming in over top of us. Now, any smart carrier captain is going to see a Cleveland and instantly duck out of this. So I feel bad for this guy. I don't know if he was new or what, but he sends his aircraft basically straight towards me. Haha, miss me, New Mexico. And puts a torpedo bomber squadron within my AA circle. So those are the 5-inch 38s. They only shot down one with defensive fire up. But just wait, there's more. There goes two. There goes all the rest of them. And there's a fighter squadron back there too. And we are still firing AP at this poor Cleveland that's way out there. And we're hitting this island. It's kind of annoying, but you know, ultimately, we are exactly where I wanted to be. I'm not visible, and I am in a position where I can shoot at them. They can either not see me or can't hit me, and so we are going to just start engaging enemy ships. You can see we're doing fairly decent damage when we do get those AP shells to hit, and that is, again, owing in large part to the fact that the AP shells on this are those super heavy shells. There's another 1,000 damage. Those super heavy shells do a fairly decent amount of damage. And again, more aircraft flying overhead. Defensive fire is down, but we've still shot down three aircraft. And there was a 5K with AP, 6-inch AP on that New Mexico, and I am not really able to be touched by him because of the way that this island is currently set up. Now, I'm being detected by the ships that are to my right. Well, it says aircraft, but really what's detecting me are those ships off to my right there. Every time I fire, the gun bloom takes me out. Now, as soon as those aircraft are out of the way, we will be basically untouchable. So this New Mexico fires off rounds. You can see there, he just can't quite get them over into there. He misses me. He's aiming at another battleship that's near me, I think. And this, whatever that cruiser is that's shooting him, I think that's that Budioni. He's managed to get some shells in there. But we are starting fires now. We're up to 20,000 damage. And this New Mexico is going to feel the burn here, literally. As we just tack on the damage, and we are still in a point where we can't be hurt. The New Mexico has a fire on him, and rather than try and light additional fires and bring out the repair party, we're going to let that one fire burn, because he's more likely to let that thing burn than he is to actually repair it, and that's an advantage to me. Now, because we can't quite hit that Koenig there, we're going to go ahead and switch, well, look for other targets anyway to engage, but now we can hit him, so we are going to shoot at him. And I am not caring about the fact that I am occasionally losing shells to the island. It really doesn't matter in this case. And 30,000 damage, that New Mexico is still burning, which is awesome. And another fire set. And, whoo, this thing is literally a blowtorch, I'm telling you. So this poor Koenig just doesn't really stand a chance. And there is probably one of the more frustrating aspects, and I know a lot of people will tell you to run IFHE, that's the inertial fuse for high explosive rounds. The Koenig is shooting at me. One shell made it over and you hit my superstructure, you jerk. Enjoy being on fire twice, though. Let me know how that's working out for you. Meanwhile, other aircraft are still coming in. That Koenig does decide that he's going to shoot at somebody else. And so we will continue to shoot at him while we also shoot down more aircraft. We are up to 15 so far this match, and we haven't even begun. Oh, look! More aircraft coming in. Dive bombers? What dive bombers? So we've shot down yet another fighter. We popped our defensive fire, and we've got another fire on that Koenig. And there goes a whole nother squadron of dive bombers. There's 2 left. There they go. They don't even get to drop their bombs. Oh, it's just so brutal. And that Koenig is on fire. So we are racking up damage as we sit behind this island. And I realize that this is really, really boring. But trust me, this is far better than the alternative of sitting there and eating AP shells from battleships all the time. And it's not that we haven't actually taken any damage from anything. We definitely have been spotted, so we are getting the potential damage there. Bayern is popping around the island here. He's visible to us. We're going to go ahead and engage him since there's nothing else really to engage at this point in time. But we're still going to stick behind this island because I don't know what that carrier is thinking he's going to get his carrier aircraft to over there. I don't know if he's trying to sneak it in around the edge here to get to our carrier or what his deal is, but it's just not happening. It's just not happening. So we are going to continue to burn down the Bayern there and pray that he sinks well. We are up to 66,000 damage at this point. Down goes the Bayern. That Koenig is still burning. I think he's still burnt. No, he stopped burning. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to creep just a little bit further forward here and continue our burn party. Well, maybe if we can get this island to stop being in the way. There's their independence. Well, you know what? Well, we're going to eventually get spotted here, and that's okay. I just don't want to get spotted by the Koenig. New Mexico, though. Yep, okay, so we're detected. That Koenig is finally coming around. He's just out of my range, but I'm still within his range. There goes yet another fire on that New Mexico. By this point, he's got to be getting pissed. So we're going to bail out of this. We're going to go full flank here, and we're going to try and turn in. And we're going to try and chase down this poor Independence on the other team that keeps sending his aircraft my way. We do have 23 aircraft kills. Incoming New Mexico fire. And a dodge. Woo! Breathe a sigh of relief. Big dodge. Missed with both of them. Meanwhile, he is still a-burning. I kind of feel like Johnny Cash at this point, you know? Okay, so yet again, we have torpedo bombers this time coming in. The Koenig is back in range, so we will engage him. There goes one of the torpedo bombers. There goes a second torpedo bomber. Third. And it just keeps going. Fourth. Fifth. I mean, yep, 28. We're up to 28 aircraft. Trying to get this Koenig to light on fire again. That New Mexico is no longer able to engage me, so he's no longer a threat. I'm trying to keep myself angled so that if that Koenig does decide to fire, that I can turn in and avoid his damage. He slowed down to try and throw off my fire there, and I am currently outrunning his shells. Instead of finishing him off, we are going to focus now on the Independence. And the Independence, if you remember from the first part of this video, is basically a Cleveland hull with an aircraft carrier deck on it. Interesting little bit of tidbit of history. We're not doing a whole lot of damage to it, really kind of hoping for... There's a fire. 1,400 damage. We are up to 90,000 damage in this game. And there is a Independence that is just burning up. Definitely in these cases you want to pay attention to other ships around you. You can see here that I had at least the luck here, we'll call it luck, to turn on this Koenig before he manages to get his salvo off and we were able to dodge them. That Leander is shooting at us now. He's going to try and do something I don't recommend you try doing in that ship, especially up against an experienced player such as myself. If you try and pop smoke when you're visible, it doesn't really work out terribly well. You'll note that I am still... Yep. We're doing quite a lot of damage to him just in HE, and he is going to die. Oh, come on. RNG, what are you doing? Oh, he smoked up. Oh no, guys. He has smoked up. And didn't help him. Alright, so back to this Koenig here. Their aircraft carrier is dead. My goal here is to try and... Ooh, what's that over there? That must be from our destroyer. We're going to try and get this poor Koenig to die. Their other battleship is a Texas. He's far enough away that I'm not terribly worried about him. If this Koenig would go away... he's on fire yet again. Uh-oh. We're getting kind of low on hit points, and this is where I want the ship to be a tier 8 again, because I want that heal, but he's on fire, he's burning. Burn, 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 burn the ring of fire. Down he goes. And arsonist to add into the insult to injury on their team. 108,686 damage, 28 aircraft kills, 2 kills, 234 regular hits, and we are capping their base like it's going out of style. And I have a battleship support here. Now, in this case, my objective here is to remain hidden as long as possible. For one, the Texas isn't in range for me to shoot at. I'm not in his range either, but, you know, we definitely don't want to draw attention to ourselves unless he is thoroughly distracted with something else, given the fact that we have all the base cap points and because we are at such low hit points. Now, I don't foresee this being too much of a problem, but I'm pretty sure this game is over. And I don't know what to tell you. This ship is so much fun, and I miss the old one, but this current iteration of it really isn't bad either. And this is really kind of the last of the US cruisers that feels like a cruiser should. After this, we start getting into some really wonky cruiser stuff that it just doesn't really quite work. I don't know of a better way to describe it aside from basically like the Pensacola, the New Orleans. They're really not that great a cruiser, and they lack in their outright damage department. They've received buffs recently, so maybe the New Orleans, when I play through it again for this How to Play, will be much improved. I've already played a game in the Baltimore. That is going to be a fantastic video as well. And the new Baltimore with the increased rate of fire is better than the old Baltimore, and I like the old Baltimore. So, awesome. I'm glad that the change happened. All right, so the battle is over. We got an assist somehow on that. I don't know how that counted as an assist. I'm pretty sure we capped the majority of this cap, but... whatever. 108,687 damage, 2 sinks, arsonist, 28 aircraft kills, 2,012 base XP, and there you'll see the detailed report, and our fire damage was 51,947 damage, and of course a credit and XP screen. I really do like this ship, and I wish that the precursor ship, the Brooklyn or the St. Louis, would come into the game in some form. I want that ship so bad, but the Cleveland definitely scratches that itch and has a permanent place in my port. As with always, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.